Hey, we got 3 of 4. That isn't too bad, right, Johnny? The Angels win the weekend wraparound series against the Mariners. And we're going to talk about why this weekend was so successful. Why did they win 3 of 4? And we've got answers. Who is the AL MVP? We're going to settle the debate right here, right now. We're going to put it in stone, period, at the end of the sentence, because you're locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can give us a rate and a review. It helps others to find the pod. You can do that on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And all together now, if you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe and click the bell to be notified every time a new episode drops.
Hey, thank you for joining us for this edition of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Well, it wasn't quite the ending of the series that we hoped for. However, it does feel good to know that we took 3 out of 4 from the Mariners, that we won the season series. We can hang that over their heads. And now it is up to the White Sox and the Baltimore Orioles, trying to save time, to take away that third wildcard spot. And our, of course, our AL West rivals, the Rangers and the A's. They got to play them too. So hopefully they don't roll over. Hopefully they can take some series as well and make it just that much more difficult for them. But Mike, this was not a fun game to watch on Monday. That was a brutal one. It was 9-1 in favor of the Mariners. Jose Suarez battled for 5 innings, but man, he was trailing 1-0, and then you just kind of knew it was gonna happen, that this thing was gonna break wide open, because he kept falling behind hitters, and he just did not look as sharp as he has been the last few starts. In fact, I think it was MLB Network that tweeted and said, Jose Suarez has a 2 such and such ERA in his last 8 starts. I'm like, don't tell people about our success.
You just jinxed it. Yeah. Every time somebody tweets about us, we end up falling apart. That's why we got that losing streak. It was Jeff Passan's fault, because he said, hey, you should check out the Angels in the American League West. And then we lost 14 in a row because of Jeff, and a lot of other reasons too. Yeah. That jerk. It
was 1-0 for a while, and then Carlos Santana busted it wide open. But here's the thing. Logan Gilbert, I keep telling you, is one of my favorite pitchers to watch. Even though he's a Mariner, that guy is a stud. All he has to do is shave that really silly goatee. That's all I ask.
Take it off and you'll look like Jared Weaver.
Yeah, man, he has just got the velocity. He's got the deception. Gubaza obviously had some comparisons to Weaver and how well he hides the ball, and how coming out of his hand, it looks like one pitch, but then it ends up being something else. He can change speeds. And so it was already going to be an uphill battle, because he has been a stud for the Mariners this season. So props to him for getting the W for his team. I don't give him props for the Mariners, but Logan Gilbert specifically, congratulations to you. And Carlos Santana, man, just busting it wide open with that grand slam. And you just kind of go, well, all right. Hey, the good news is that while we thought Mike Myers was going to start in Texas, he actually came in relief. And so the next couple probables are pitchers that we're really excited about. But
absolutely.
Talk about some of the positives that we can take away from this game.
Well, 5 innings for Suarez, and he did look good. Like, this was a fun game to watch when it was 1-0, and then he got into old habits. He started to fall behind. He walked some batters. The thing that I really like, though, is that he stayed in the game. They didn't take him out when he loaded the bases, and he stayed in the game after giving up the grand slam. And so that's something he's just got to learn, and I appreciate that Phil Nevin does that. He didn't rush out and didn't take him out. He allowed him to work through the mess that he created.
Right.
And Johnny, I love Livan Soto, and I know I fall in love real fast. And so I really appreciate this guy, and I love that he looks confident out there. He looks confident on the field and at the plate, and he got a hit yesterday. And then Taylor Ward, we're going to talk about him later this week, actually, but Taylor Ward is starting to look like the Taylor Ward from April. He had a hit in this game and knocked in a run, and that's great to see, because I want this guy to finish the season really strong, because I think that he could be a great leader for us in that locker room, be that quiet leader for the Halos and be somebody that could be strong in the outfield for us next season as well.
You know what I found interesting was seeing Taylor Ward and then Matt Theis bat back to back. I just thought that was kind of a cool moment because they were drafted back to back, both as catchers, both guys who have had a long time to climb through the minors, and it's taken a little while for them to get here. And so for them to be in the same lineup, it's always been like Ward or Theis in the past, and we were trying them both out. And it was cool to see them go back to back. The other thing, Mike, was Mike Trout wasn't in the lineup. It was his last scheduled day off for the day. And for me, I saw that and went, oh, come on. We got to get the sweep. Like, don't throw in the towel.
Let him play against Seattle and let him sit against Texas, right?
Yeah,
let's just crush Seattle. Let's beat them down. And then with Texas, they're already out. So let Trout have today off, right? Like, I would have loved to have seen Trout in that lineup too. I'm with you. And I think they showed his home run against Logan Gilbert. I think it was last year, right? He hit a bomb against Gilbert last year. And so I think he has good stats against him. And so I would have loved to see him in there just because it's Seattle. I want to see them crush Seattle.
No kidding. And if he would have been in there, then there would have been all kinds of chatter. Oh, the Angels are making this their playoffs. The Angels are just trying to pad his stats and da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
That's exactly what's happening. Yeah. We need something. I don't know why people want to take all that away from us. Like, when you're a fan, you want to hang on to something. When you're a team, you want to have a good moment. And the fact that people have those conversations like, oh, they're just trying to, that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to get up for a game. They're trying to make it competitive. You want them to roll over. Is that what you really want? Like,
that's what they want.
Exactly. You're going to walk into the playoffs. You haven't been in thousands of years. And so now all of a sudden everybody's supposed to just bow down to your every whim. I don't understand that conversation of, they're just trying to, the team is trying to win. You play to win the game. That's the great quote from the NFL, right? And that's what I think is happening here. Like, let's win all the games that we can, because this is a team that if you end really well, I think that momentum can be carried into next season.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to take a look here in just a minute at some of the things that made this weekend a success. So we'll dive into the things that we really liked about the fact that we beat up on the Mariners in 3 of 4 games, and how we can take those forward with us as we go into the offseason, as we go into 2023. There was a lot of positives, a lot of things that the Angels did this weekend that set them up for success. And we're going to talk about them here in just a minute.
Coming up on Locked On Angels, who is the AL MVP? Well, we have all the answers. You're not going to need to go to anybody else. You can find it right here. But first, Locked On Angels is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. And so you want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. They help you find the right people for your team faster and for free. You can create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. You can add your job and then the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring for your job, for your organization, and your network can help you find the right people to get to your page and find out what kind of job you're offering, because you want to find those right people. So simple tools like screening questions can make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so that you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. And it's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Remember, there are some terms and conditions that do apply.
We want to thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Mike, as we reflect on this weekend, we want to take the time to ask the question, why was this weekend so successful? Why were the Angels able to take 3 of 4? You and I put our heads together and we had some observations. We took some notes and we decided to share those with our listeners of Locked On Angels. So why don't you start us out with the first thing that you noticed from this weekend that gave the Angels some success?
Pitching,
go figure.
Right? How about that, right? Each pitcher went 5 innings, including Jose yesterday, even though he gave up the grand slam. And that's key, Johnny. That's key. You have your guys. They're going deep into games, and they're throwing pitches. The other thing that I noticed about these pitchers is that for like Reed Detmers, he pitched to contact. He wasn't trying to strike everybody out. And that, I think, is really key. When you are confident in your defense behind you and you're confident in how you're lined up, I think your pitcher goes out there really knowing that he can throw his pitches and play his game. And so they pitched really, really well this weekend. And yeah, it would have been great to get the sweep, but 3 of 4, this team looked like the team from April and early May because they pitched really, really well. And this conversation about like, we need pitching is true. But I think that this season has actually given us the answers to who those pitchers are, and they're in-house pitchers. It doesn't mean we shouldn't go and find somebody, but I'm really, really excited about the in-house guys that we have and being able to have them go out there and be successful. So this weekend, the first reason why it was so successful, Johnny, was because we pitched really, really well.
On that note, at the end of the broadcast, I heard Mark Gubiza and Patrick O'Neill talking about Logan Gilbert and how the Mariners ran with him. Last season, they ran with him and they let him figure things out. And look at the season that he's had in 2022.
Got 13 wins now.
Yeah, going back to your point about Suarez battling and not being pulled after the grand slam and everything like that, that is one thing that I will credit Phil Nevin with, is he has let these guys battle. He's let these guys figure it out. He hasn't given them a quick hook. He probably knows that he might not even be here as the manager next season. Maybe he goes back to being third base coach or something like that. But at the end of the day, he's done a good job of letting these youngsters work through these tough issues that they have to go through, these tough situations. And Suarez yesterday was a perfect example of that. And so, yeah, I'm encouraged by the young pitching that we have and look forward to seeing what happens next season. And like you said, get that extra arm that you need to build around this rotation and really solidify that your pitching's good. You actually have good pitching on the Angels for a change for the first time in 10 years or whatever it's been. Timely hitting, Mike, has been key to this weekend.
Number 2. Yep.
The reason why is because you saw Luis Rengifo get the Angels out to an early lead with his huge weekend, having 2 multi-home run games, and that really sets the tone for a game. You have Livan Soto. I almost said Juan Soto. You have Livan Soto.
He'd be nice to have.
Yeah, no kidding. On Sunday, he hits that home run and puts the game out of reach for the Halos.
Right.
So there was so much timely hitting, so much delivering on runners in scoring position, and not blowing your chances when you have the ability to add on. In fact, I mean, Friday was a slugfest. The final score, 8-7. It was back and forth. No lead was safe. And for the Halos to maintain and keep ahead and finish that game 8-7 was huge. And it all had to do with the timely hitting.
Yeah, when you are up and you add on runs, it's defeating and deflating.
Like
for the
on
other
Monday,
team, right? Yeah, and
that was defeating and deflating.
We felt that, right? But I think like the Sunday game is an example of that. It was, I think it was 2-1 or 3-1, and then Soto hits his home run, and then it's suddenly 5-1, and that is really, really good for your pitching. It's really, really good for your team's demeanor, and that's something that we haven't seen for a long time from the Halos. Number 3, Johnny, great defense. They played great defense. Now, they didn't play perfect defense. They played great defense. There were a couple of mistakes throughout the weekend in the outfield. Adele and Sierra made some mistakes. But overall, they played some really great defense. And Rengifo is on both sides of the ball, like on the defensive side and also at the plate. He's just been crushing it. And on Monday, he actually had a ball that took a weird hop on him. He falls down to his butt, collects himself, and then throws the runner out still.
Yeah,
and that was just an amazing, amazing play. It was really good for Suarez because it got him out of an inning. And so great defense has really been the key to this weekend, that they're not hurting themselves. They're not shooting themselves in the foot, so to speak. And they're allowing themselves to just play well, stay in the game, and allowing the other team to have to really work for their runs instead of handing them their runs.
That's right. I alluded to this earlier, but Phil Nevin making good managerial decisions. One example is different closers on different days. Even though there were situations where there weren't save situations, no lead is safe with our Angels, as we have come to know. However, it was great to see a different guy out there finishing the game each night. I think we had Quijada on Sunday. I think Jimmy Herget at one point took the ball. Jimmy Herget, man, that guy has been a stud for us this season. So he is somebody that I have liked since the beginning of the season and was sneaky good. And now it's just well known that he is somebody you can really count on. And he's had his troubles every now and then, but every pitcher goes through that. But man, he has been such a great bullpen piece for us this season. And then, Phil Nevin letting the starters start, letting them have some length, no matter what it looked like. Even Michael Lorenzen giving up 3 runs in 5 innings. You hear that stat and you think, oh, I'm surprised he didn't get pulled sooner. Or and the reason why I feel that gut instinct is because that's what we're used to. And so I just feel like
whiplash.
So for him to get 3 runs in 5 innings and still get the W, still get all 5 innings was great. So I appreciate Phil Nevin helping guide these guys and these starting pitchers to victory. Except for Shohei. Shohei does it all by himself.
Yeah, well, that's why he's we're going to talk about that in the next segment. Listen, I think one more thing that we can add to this is the Halos brought somebody up when they put somebody on the IL that was fresh, that was new to the team, that wasn't like a Jose Rojas. I know he's gone now, but with Soto coming in, there's an excitement about him. There was an excitement about him coming in. And I loved that decision. And I don't know why they don't do that more. I think they need to do that more because you're seeing like with Theis has brought kind of a fire and an excitement. And same thing with Stefanik. I know that he's struggled a bit, but let's give this guy an opportunity to really play well and figure it out. So that would be the additional thing that I would add to this weekend is that the Halos brought in guys that brought a little bit of fire, brought a little bit of excitement. I don't know if you heard of the conversation that they had with Soto off air, but Guboza was saying like, hey, the Trash Pandas are going to the playoffs. Are you sad that you're not going to be there? And he's like, bro, I'm in the big game. Like I'm up in the majors. So I'm not sad at all. Now, if he gets sent back down, he'll play and he'll enjoy it. But he said, I'd rather be up here on a losing team on the big club than being down in AA playing in the playoffs, because this is what you're playing for. This is your goal. This is the vision, right? And so I love that they brought somebody in and they didn't just wait. They didn't just sit on it. They didn't try to figure it out. They didn't bring in somebody that was DFA'd. They brought in one of our guys and it really paid off. And I think that that's going to be a good direction for this front office moving forward.
We've been saving this conversation till right now, and it's time to settle it once and for all right here on Locked On Angels, where we have many fans in Orange County, a city that does exist. It's not just a string of goofy hotels and amusement parks. There are fans of this team, and we are going to wear our West Coast bias. No, we'll be reasonable for a change and then give you our opinion on this AL MVP debate. And I want to start, Mike, with Shohei Ohtani's stats. Okay, if I take those, are you okay with taking Aaron Judge's stats?
Yep, and then I'll have to rinse my mouth out, but I'll do that.
We're just
I gotta say his name. I gotta talk about the Yankees.
We're gonna paint the best picture to help everyone understand what we're dealing with here. So, starting with Shohei Ohtani, let's talk about this. Okay, how this season compares to baseball history. This is a great tweet from Baseball Reference. Listen to this. The number of players in the entire history of Major League Baseball, 22,835. Number of players in MLB history with a season of 180 plus strikeouts, a 2.60 ERA or lower, and a 5K per walk rate, 38 players.
Wow.
Number of players in MLB history with a season of 30 plus home runs, 5 plus triples, and a plus a 350 on base percentage, 147.
Okay.
Number of players in MLB history with both in a single season, uno. That's one. Yeah. Shohei Ohtani. So let me break this down for you. Shohei Ohtani has homered more this season than Vlad Guerrero Jr., Manny Machado, Arenado, and more RBIs than Alex Bregman, Yordan Alvarez, and Mookie Betts. Dang. Ohtani has a lower ERA than Carlos Rodon, Shane Bieber, Corbin Burns, and more strikeouts than Charlie Morton, Shane McClanahan, and Sandy Alcantara. There is no other player in history that has ever excelled the way that Shohei Ohtani has before. Phil Nevin has said, I've said it before, he's the most valuable player of our game right now. Until somebody can come in and do the things that he's doing on both sides, I don't see it going any other way. I love Aaron Judge like a son, but I'll continue to say it. Ohtani can take over a baseball game like nobody can. One more thing, Mike. The biggest issue that people seem to have is war. And I'm here to tell you, war, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Because it was not built. It has not been designed. The creator of war, the man who came up with the formula, has even said it is not good enough to account for how Shohei Ohtani impacts the game. So, from the man himself, this is like the GIF and GIF debate. When we just said, how do you say it? And the guy said it's GIF, but people still call it a GIF, whatever. Trent Rush from Angels Radio, broadcaster on Angels Radio, he said this: there are many injustices in this world. Whoever loses AL MVP will not be one of them. That said, how a player can have 2 home runs and get a higher WAR for a game than a player who pitches 7 scoreless innings and contributed 100% of his team's offense is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Because there are so many instances of Shohei Ohtani doing great things, and they are not calculated and quote-unquote worth as much as what he would be doing if he played a full-time defensive position. You and I have said before that with Shohei Ohtani, if you face 100-something batters and 90% of them don't get on base, that means that you've prevented 90% of potential runs. How is that not how it factors into WAR? So hopefully all of that has painted a picture for the amazing things that Shohei Ohtani is doing. Now, let's be fair and talk about Aaron Judge's season.
John, Aaron Judge leads the American League in the following categories: runs, home runs, RBIs, walks, intentional walks, on base percentage, slugging percentage, OPS, total bases, and WAR. He currently sits in the top 3 in batting average. He actually got the potential to win the Triple Crown. First time since Miggy Cabrera actually did that. I think was that 2012?
2012.
I think, was it? Yeah. And he's on the verge of doing something that hasn't been done in baseball history in the last 20 years, breaking the home run record, at least for American League, right? Like he could possibly pass Roger Maris's record for the American League. The National League record is 73. That's Barry Bonds. That's the Major League record. And the other thing that's going for him is that there isn't any evidence that he's juiced. It looks like he's a clean player. And it looks like he is a talented player. And so
they're just juicing the baseballs. It's fine.
Right? We said fair and unbiased, so please let me finish.
Here we go. My West Coast bias showing off.
Yeah, in some little place called Orange County. So I look at Aaron Judge's stats and I say, man, what an incredible season. And 100%. He is well deserving of the MVP if he gets voted as the MVP. So now comes the big question, John. What's your heart say? What's your gut say? Knowing what we know, seeing what we see, trying to be unbiased. Who's your MVP and why?
I'm taking Shohei Ohtani, and the reason why is it's not just based on WAR. You have to look at where he excels as a hitter and a pitcher. And I understand that he falls behind Aaron Judge in several offensive categories. But you have to look at the pitching side of things. I've seen the comparison of Shohei is hitting like he's hitting, and then it's like he's pitching like Garrett Cole. And it's like, okay, Yankee fans, if Garrett Cole was doing this, would you have a different opinion on the subject, right?
Yeah.
And it's just, it's wild to me that he is doing so many things so well and excelling at both of them, hitting, pitching, all of it. And you can't take away the fact that even though he's behind Aaron Judge in offensive stats, the pitching, to me, more than makes up for whatever perceived gap people have. I understand that Aaron Judge is having an incredible season. So I'm with you. I will not be upset if the voters go with Aaron Judge. I get it. I totally get it. But to say it's unanimous and to say it's an easy choice, it's not an easy choice.
No,
Several
it's not.
people are they're gonna be shocked when Aaron Judge doesn't get it unanimously. And I think this is the problem I have with this whole conversation is downplaying what each person is doing. I know I made a joke about juice balls, but the truth is, like, I'm just trying to find every excuse as a joke to say why Aaron Judge can't beat Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
But the fact is, these two guys are doing incredible things. If I had a vote, I think I would go with Ohtani. That's my choice. How about you?
If I had a vote, I would vote for Ohtani. And I think a part of that is because I get to see him every single day and I get to see what he's doing every single day. And I have felt as a fan the impact of Shohei Ohtani during a really difficult Angel season. He's the reason why we broke the losing streak. And there was a run where we only won the games that Shohei pitched, right?
Correct.
And so he should get a full WAR because he got a full win. And so I think
each time,
I think that Shohei, I would vote for Shohei. And Shohei has even said, this is my best season. And he has had such an incredible year, maybe better on the pitching side than the offensive side. Last year was more offensive than pitching, but this guy is doing something that's once in a lifetime. Like Judge might do something that's done in the last 20 plus years. Shohei's doing something that's never been done. So my vote would go to Shohei Ohtani, but John, I think my gut tells me that Aaron Judge is going to win the MVP. And the reason why is because he's going to get to 60 home runs, maybe even more than that, still has a few games to try to get that. And I think that that's just a sexy number for sports writers. They're going to see that and they're going to be excited about that. Now, Ben Verlander did tweet that we are not treating this race, specifically Aaron Judge getting to 60 home runs, as we should. And I think we become numb to it because we're not sure, because of the past, if players are clean or not. And it's only been about 20 years since we've seen the home run record go down. And then we saw that 20, maybe 23, 24 years when we saw McGuire and we saw Sammy Sosa go after the home run record. And so I can understand why fans are kind of like, I don't know. Like, we're not as excited as we were before. And the reason is because the distance between when it was done and how it's being done now isn't as far. And that's why Shohei is so remarkable, because it's never been done. And that's why more eyes should be on him. But I think that Judge is going to get the MVP. He's going to be voted MVP because that 60-plus home run record, that number looks really great, and people are really excited about that. And if he gets it, I think it's well-deserved, and I think it's well-earned, and I have no issue with it. I don't think he should get it. No qualms. I don't think he should get it simply because his team is better than the Angels. I think past has proven how people have voted for things. Ernie Banks won an MVP and he was on the Cubs, right? And so the guy's never made it to the playoffs. He's in the Hall of Fame. And so it doesn't always have to be about the team. And so that shouldn't even be the argument. It should be about the player, and it be about the player only.
That's why I think the most frustrating part about this whole conversation is you're bringing in all these factors that don't matter to the MVP. Winning teams, losing teams. You can't change what you think it means to favor your player, when at the end of the day, history and precedent, which are the two things that you base your decision off of, and it's in the rule about MVP voting that standing has no bearing on the award whatsoever. In fact, you know what is part of the rule? Is like an outstanding character sort of thing. Like it's some sort of caveat that's like, go with the outstanding. Like if they have demonstrated outstanding character on the field, I should look up what it actually is. But hey, Shohei picks up trash on the field. He's cleaning up after the boys. So that shows outstanding character to me. He calls out foul ball. Hey, when he hits one over at the opponent. So to me, that's outstanding character. But all that to say, I think that people are having these discussions, are having them every which way in the incorrect way. And I think let's wait until the season's over, the official stats are done, and see where everything shakes out and see where these guys stand at the end of 2022.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen today, and make your second listen the Locked On MLB podcast with our friend Paul Francis Sullivan. He's going to talk about the MVP race because he's got opinions about that as well. You can follow the #1 daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB, on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We always appreciate you making us your first listen. And of course, we would appreciate your follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and on Twitter and Instagram at Super Halo Bros. Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
Well, he shall be Levon, and he shall be talked about tomorrow on Locked On Angels. We're going to talk about Levon Soto, where he came from, share a bit of his story, and how he arrived on the Halos. Again, we'll talk about that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Looking forward to that. We hope that you'll join us again. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks again for making us your first listen, and we will see you back here tomorrow for more Locked On Angels.